So I wouldn't be able to, I would just sit there with a thumbtack, just being like, oh, I feel it. Anyway, so without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our first poet this evening. I don't bust out bios. What I do is I say nice things about them before I bring them up. Tonight we're going to hear in this order. We're going to hear Sally Ashton, Josiah Luis Alderete, and Rachel McKibbens in that order. It is, I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to introduce Sally Ashton on a stage before, but recently, this year, this will be my second time this year, which is lovely. Sally Ashton is probably one of the coolest people I know, who has also been a poet laureate of Santa Clara County. I have to say, I was like, when I became poet laureate, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to be in a club with Sally Ashton? Like, I really thought that. But that was tempered by the fact that I had to be in a club with David Perez. You know what I mean? So it all balances out in the end. No, seriously though, what a group to get to be in, what a club to get to be in, but you really helped pave that way, and I appreciate that. You've had your hand in the poetry community for a very long time, and you've left ripples. You've thrown pebbles into the pond that is our poetry community, and those ripples are still being felt, and I love it. Keep throwing those pebbles in for us. All right. Folks, a true legend. Please put your hands together for Sally Ashton.
Thank you, Mr. Mike McGee. Those of you who know me know that I am very, very much a clipboard kind of gal. Okay? So in fact, somebody once said that they thought I should run for president. So I am much more on the page and but I'll bring it off to you the best I can. Along the lines of thankfulness and appreciation, I wanted to start my set tonight with a poem that I'm dedicating to my Mike McGee, to Rob Hessing, to Scorpiana, people who are arts administrators, curators of readings, who do so much for the love of poetry and other poets while they themselves are artists and poets. So I've had experience doing that, and so I don't want anyone to take this poem as a jab at famous poets, but I do want to shout out for these good people and the work they did. So I got to there was a very famous poet coming to town, and they said, he needs to be picked up from the airport. So I'm like, okay, I'm there, I'm going to pick up this guy. And in fact, I had to have dinner with him. I got to have dinner with him. Poetry Center paid for it. This was 20 years ago. Anyway, lunch with a famous poet. And after we'd finished the bread, the wine, the plates of ravioli, brown butter, sage sauce, and I had smiled through his stories, and he politely answered my questions about getting published. He did not like my manuscript's title. There was a strange pause before he asked, carefully, whether there was a Foot Locker shoe store in town. And I answered carefully, yes. And he'd explain how a cat at the house where he'd stayed the night before flying here had peed in his shoes, his only pair. And I'd understood he was wearing them right then. They were under the table next to mine. So I agreed to take him shopping before the reading to Foot Locker, where he chose optic white athletic shoes to wear with his brown pants and dim rumpled jacket. I did point out a dark pair. But no, he preferred white, though he said he wasn't quite sure whether these fit right, and then stood as my sons once stood staring down at his feet. So what else but to kneel and press my practice thumb into the toe of the new size 13.5 shoe he would wear on stage later that night. After that, I knew I'd learned a lot about poets and the art of the business. I did change my manuscript's title, which I remembered was called Don't Look Down. He'd said it made him want to look down. All right, I may be like you, I may not be like you, but I'm having a hard time letting the summer go. I don't want to hear about it right now. I know it's hot, but still. So I'm kind of hanging on to that. I have a couple of poems about travel. I don't know if many of you got to take off in an airplane. I know Rachel flew out there from somewhere. So this collection of poems is a look at the sort of mutability of time and space. It's called Behaviour of Clocks. And this poem is called, it's after a quote by Michel Foucault, "A ship is a piece of floating space." You travel by airship, a jet, a placeless place at once threshold and destination, neither here nor there. You fly, translated to a cafe table set on uneasy cobble under some broadleaf tree. The days turn into memories you will call Portugal, or Italy, or that summer when. You navigate by train schedule, by guidebook, by the sidewalk underfoot, and think you could stay. Traveling itself, a placeless place you begin to feel at home in. You learn to move slow in the afternoons, to count change or be shortchanged, to say, I don't speak. Translation, the movement of meaning from one language to another, connects thought to voice, a floating space between people. Time, memory, meaning, those spaces by which you travel. One nice thing about the fall for me, it's good to be alive. October is my birthday. So this is, I'm already anticipating it. This poem is called Some Birthday, and it is what it is. You figure out what it is. Some birthday, because my soul, open like a tin can under heaven, caught lost light, refracted from a planet I never saw, but felt illuminate my empty core, the dark matter of fact. And like a can, once opened, can never be resealed, this became my because, the thin, curved metal of my remaining days, the lid off, mouth open, catch all that can be, mystery of moment, rolled under aluminum stars, a comet's glance, the knife blade moon slicing, sliding only. And you, sun, bleached memories of wakefulnesses, flickering empty as a can, complete as a can be opened under heaven, matter's dark fact, and the seasons turning. I started the reading with a poem of gratitude for our hosts and hard workers. This poem is also called Gratitude. It's good to be alive. The woman woke from her nap. A breeze tossed the greeny branches overhead. Some bird wheedled in a way that matched the motion of the wind, the leaves. A stem of grass teased her bare ankle. The dry air buzzed. In one direction, vineyard unfurled, rising, falling with the hills. In the other, the steeple and tiled roofs of some small town stood almost asleep. She didn't want to move either. It was good that dinosaurs were extinct. They would have ruined everything. In terms of time and the mutability of time and how long I've been timing around here, I was poet laureate 20 years ago. That's crazy, 22 actually. And I was reminded of one of the first official duties I had as poet laureate. It's a county position appointed by the Board of Supervisors, and they asked me to come in front of the council meeting and give the invocation, so give some kind of reading. Big ass city hall, the mayor, everybody's up there. And I had some kind of idea what I was going to do, and this was for December 19th, 2012. And on December 15th, Sandy Hook happened, and 26 people with a lot of kids were killed. And this past Wednesday, there was another school shooting with more children and teachers dead. And I thought about something else that happened shortly after that. It's called About the Body. We sheltered in place behind locked office doors, students calling in, "Is class canceled today?" While helicopters circle and some friends were actively teaching and had to shelter with their students, waiting for the all clear that for a while no one remembered to give. Later came the training. How to prepare for the next gunman. To lock and barricade the door, keep quiet, turn off lights, though our doors all had side windows and no locks. I learned I must ask students to give me their belts to secure the outward opening lockless doors that can't be barricaded. A belt would probably hold, if anyone wore one. It's about the body and what you do with it. This was the university, not adults, but I knew it was my job to show up, to try to stop a shooter, to save their lives. I did not discuss this with my husband. This is what it means. This is what it means to defend life, even a life that didn't come from my body, didn't choose not to. Of course they didn't. No one chooses to be born or to self-implode inside the womb. No one makes that choice. That is a choice that does not exist. You might choose to comprehend that I might want to choose my life over theirs, what my family wanted me to do, but it was my choice to show up or not, to decide if the job was what I was able to do. Was I willing to give my one life for theirs? That's what teachers face every day. You have to know that you're just stepping into a space. We thank you for our teachers. Amazing Grace, I wrote. I feel like we've come through these 4 years of pandemic and other horrific things. We've had plagues and floods and fires and animosity and wars, and we're survivors. And it's important to remember every now and then that we've really made it through something remarkable, something that has not happened in the world before, an entire global experience, even though maybe our particular fires and floods are unique to our situation or where we live. The world has been under an incredible change. My recent book is a kind of a chronicle of those times. It's called Listening to Mars, because at the same time that we were locked in our homes, the government was sending probes out to Mars as if we were going to escape there next. It was a little bit crazy. So I'm going to read a few of these poems as a way to bear witness to what we've each been through. Your own details may be different. California, April. Turkey spreads his feathers. I rearrange the sorrow. To calculate the color of the sky. I start with a quote from Lucy Wang, who says, a lot of languages did not have a specific word for blue. Not having a word for the color blue suggests that our ancestors did not see blue that way. To calculate the color of the sky. Maybe I'm approaching apogee. My mother missing eternally, my brother gone for less than a year. March. Stay-at-home orders to flatten the curve. I start a pandemic blog. I last 1 week. My husband plays loud music, fries bacon. This is fun, he says, sitting down with me for lunch. At CVS, the unmasked checker whistling licks her fingertips to grab my bag. My husband suggests a walk. Is our DNA changing? My friend Nellie's cancer numbers skyrocket. The loud whir of silence. Flatten the curve comes to mean the rate of panic. April, Excelsior, e pluribus unum. I long for presents for the many who I now must not see, though I could. Judith, dying in Seattle, sends a farewell letter. The shadow of nothing is a black hole. On Facebook, I discover a friend from work has died. Whales in the shipping lanes, wild goats on city streets, a mountain lion yard yawns in a backyard tree. The daughters send pictures of Judith's green burial. What day is it? We drive to the beach, reopen, the sun on the waves, as if nothing has happened. Absence can't be imagined until it comes. Could be an ordinary warm spring day, May, poppies in the backyard. A morning text, Nellie died overnight. The house full of shadows, outside it's a hologram. I have talked to myself my whole life, I also talk to the dead. All the same and everything different. Minneapolis, what the fuck? Everyone a bystander, none of us innocent. June, my daughter at last proposes a bubble. I write a fable about a woman with a magic hat. When my husband cuts his own hair, I think he needs a magic hat. In the yard, peaches ripen. The sky remains huge and reliably wonderful, someone says. At least it's wonderfully reliable, I think. This is what it looked like when we got there. So we did the best we could. A string quartet performed to an audience of potted plants that filled the seats through all 5 balconies of the opera house. At the end of Puccini, the plants applauded, waving and rasping their leaves together. In churches, priests tape hand-drawn faces of absent parishioners along vacant pews to keep themselves company. Human avatars tuned in from home lined up on the screens. A plastic rain fell. Elsewhere, we knew about the refrigerated trucks. Elsewhere in the summer, the world in full leaf, zucchini grew mad in the gardens more than anyone wanted to eat. Not wanting to kill us, our children refused to come inside. Then they wouldn't visit at all. No, we didn't want our grandchildren to live with such knowledge either. But we were running out of time. Whenever we looked, it was 2 o'clock Tuesday, the symbolic stage. A woman working at a call center in India mentioned she had 3 roosters in her yard. The discord was ear-splitting. We looked for Neowise, sent rockets to Mars. We were on our way to a new world we could barely imagine. A long, short autumn lay ahead, and we weren't going anywhere else. A jigger of June, Siri transposes, maybe wanting to mix things another way. Tired of the usual, tired of all of us, these dog and cat days unmarked by the miraculous, who seek solace in spirits, different kinds, different times, hoping for antibodies against fire, flood, drought, hurricane, plague, so that when someone mentions a swarm of locusts is expected tomorrow, I wondered who I could possibly have missed it in my news feed. No longer attuned to irony. What's it good for anyway, now that nothing seems to come as a surprise, but here's to a jigger of June, like a tune we all mostly remember, though we've lost the words, something, something new. I hum instead, fill the glass with ice, squeeze lime over, dump in gin, tonic, no longer bothering to measure. July, how far I've gone. Yes, there were hundreds of satellites to keep track of. Yes, the jet rumbled on its course from time to time, but plots on Earth had begun to follow a curious logic, so who knew? They called it a metal rat year. I never found out what that meant, but it sounded right. Somewhere deep in the house, footsteps could be heard recrossing the hardwood. Somewhere, a dog barked. It seemed endless. I turned the page. Nothing lasts forever. Something about the law of nature, something about the dream of man. A fine-tuned car alarm blasted one note for several uninterrupted minutes. Then silence. Nothing lasts. Turn the page, which is how I sometimes read the world. Pretty much everything in space spins, and now I felt it at the quantum level. How long could I hold my breath? July clear and hot with a chance of sorrow, but honey, that was just life in the late Anthropocene. Skywriting, what remains to be written of this year will need a cloudless sky and the acrobatic courage of a stunt pilot twisting through woods to wrestle language from smoke. It will need a still afternoon one from September with that kind of blue that snaps to attention. Make it something a child can read, good news instead of threats, surrender, Dorothy, that darkened other skies. No tornado, no wind. Use words that make amends. I'll close with another poem from this book. How do you survive? How do you continue to write poems? How do you continue to sing and dance and create art and love? How to don't waste